This is Friday, July 7th. There are 12 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2017. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE, go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple.
Good evening. I am your host, James Riley. Joining me on the podcast tonight, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Also joining us is Kim Twombly, Outside Comic-Con.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, so this is it. This is Breaking Down the Podcast, Part 1. And we are going to be covering Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of Comic-Con.
Which is how many days away now?
12 days.
12?
11 days. 12 days? 12 days.
12 days. That's
12 days
insane.
from right now, people will be walking on the exhibit floor.
That's insane. I'm not ready. Not ready at all. All right. Well,
Nope.
let's just get into this then. So I'll start real quick with Wednesday. So for anybody who has never been to Comic-Con on preview night, if you have a preview night badge, there's really only two things that you can do at Comic-Con on Wednesday. You can either go to the show floor and everything is going to be open, except the Funko booth. But the only other thing that you can really do is up in Ballroom 20, they show pilot screenings. And that is going to be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there's no cast, there's no anything. Like, it's literally just like, come and sit in this ballroom and watch some pilot screenings of things that will be starting here within the next year. And this year it's going to be Deception, which is it's from Chuck co-creator Chris Fedek. It's basically Now You See Me in TV form. It's about a magician who goes to work for the FBI. And then there's Krypton, which is Sci-Fi's new show about Superman's grandfather. There's Black Lightning, which is going to be the new CW DC show. There's an episode of Teen Titans Go, and then there's also Unikitty. And I say this every year on this, but when you go to Ballroom 20, for whatever reason, everybody like sits in the middle. I always think it's so funny because like, again, there's no cast. Like, there's a dude who comes out and like introduces the next episode, but he's whatever. The screens are over on the side.
He's
so like
PR guy or announcer guy.
Yeah.
He's not cast or anything like that. He's just the guy there to tell you what's up.
Yeah, no. So head over to the sides so you'll have a better view of the screen. Like, a lot of times there's spots open closer, so feel free to move closer. But that's really about all you can do on Wednesday, and that's like the entire Wednesday schedule.
That's it. So either watch some stuff or go shopping.
Yeah.
Or head to McFadden's for Two Block, Two Furious.
Yes.
That's right. From 7 p.m. to 11.
Okay, so we're on to Thursday then. And that means we're starting off with the big hall, Hall H. And first up at 11:30 a.m. is 20th Century Fox for an hour with the dreaded TBA. Now, we had Jermaine on a couple of weeks ago, and he basically said, expect Kingsman, and maybe some teases of a few other things. But basically, it's mostly going to be a Kingsman panel. That's what we're expecting at this time.
And with an hour, like, I mean, I think we'll get some footage of something else. Like maybe a very, very short Deadpool 2 teaser, because they have started filming. But even that, I'm like, I feel like that's pushing it. But yeah, it's basically just going to be Kingsman. Yeah.
So, I mean, I assume if they do something for Deadpool, it's probably going to be some kind of footage. I don't know if you can expect them to show up at all. They may just bring some stuff. So the next at 12:45 is Brigsby Bear Cast and Filmmakers panel from Sony Pictures Classics, and it's going to have let's see, Kyle Mooney, Dave McCrary, Beck Bennett, Kevin Costello, and members of the Lonely Island. It's basically just going to be some clips and extended, and then a Q&A. That's going to be for an hour.
And I looked this
And,
film up earlier, and if you haven't yet, it looks weird. It looks so weird.
So there's your weird Hall H movie of the day. We have next at 2 p.m. From MTV, the Teen Wolf panel, the final panel at Comic-Con, even though they said last year would be the last panel at Comic-Con. This is basically like the victory lap, I guess you could call it. They didn't really announce much about it except for expect the full trailer for the last half of the season, right?
Actually, though, even though the official schedule doesn't list cast, MTV announced cast. So it's going to be Tyler Posey, Dylan Sprayberry, Shelley Hennig, Cody Christian, Kylan Rambo, and executive producer Jeff Davis. Unfortunately, Dylan O'Brien, it looks like, is not going to be here, which you can also, I think, pretty much count a Maze Runner panel out for Fox as well, because if he's not there for one, he's probably not going to be there for the other. So I know a lot of people are disappointed about that, but...
Yeah. So then next, after that, we have the Netflix Films panel at 3:15, and that will be spotlighting Bright and Death Note. Bright is from David Ayer, and Death Note, let me see here who that's from. It's based on the manga, and it looks like it's going to have, for Bright, it's going to have Will Smith, Joel Edgerton, Numi Rapace, Lucy Fry, and Edgar Ramirez, along with director David Ayer. And then Death Note just says that it's going to have cast and filmmakers. So I think was there also going to be some kind of offsite stuff for these?
I don't.
There's a screening, but that's badge. You need a badge, right?
Oh, okay.
Well.
All right.
And there is a screening, but it's the Netflix surprise screening, so no one's really sure what that is, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And there is an offsite, but I think the offsite is like Stranger Things and The Defenders. I think it's more the TV side, but maybe there's something bright there.
Well, this is interesting in itself that Netflix, after years of basically shunning Comic-Con, kind of dipped their toe in with Luke Cage last year, and then essentially just blasted in this year. It's like, okay, this is fine, we can do it. And then they're showing up with films and TV, multiple panels, offsites.
Which is great.
Which is great. Yeah, we're so excited.
But, why weren't you here for the last 5 years?
I know, God. Well, and they're killing me with this Sense8 thing, because, like, they didn't bring it because it was canceled, and then it got, like, uncanceled, but it was too late to bring it. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? But that's okay.
And then finally, at 4:45 is the Nerdist panel with Chris Hardwick, and that's his basically his channel and site panel, along with a bunch of people that do stuff on Nerdist, including Jessica Chabot, Kyle Hill, Dan Casey, Rachel Heine, Alicia Lutz, and a surprise guest or two. And that's an hour until 5:45, and that's it for Hall H on Thursday.
So
pretty much a light day.
I know what my opinion is, but do you think this is going to be a walk-in all day?
I think it has a good chance to be walk-in all day, especially since so far Fox is TBA. If they don't announce anything, it's pretty much guaranteed to be a walk-in all day.
I agree.
If they announce that there's going to be multiple things besides Kingsman, then I would expect it might fill up for just Fox and then basically clear out, and then the Teen Wolf crowd will come in. But I don't know if it's going to fill up for the rest of the day.
I feel like this entire day is going to be a walk-in. Whatever the last year was that Fox was there, that Marvel wasn't. I mean, Fox did announce things, and they had like decent people in there. Like I remember Guillermo del Toro was there. I very distinctly remember like walking past the Hall H line, and like literally there were employees standing on the lawn being like, "It's open, like you guys can just walk in right now, like you don't have to get in line, just come on in." And I feel like that's what this is going to be again.
Yes.
So, yes.
Probably. So next up is Ballroom 20. Who's taking that one?
Kim is.
Me. Hang on, I wasn't ready.
That's okay.
Someone delete all that.
Actually, hold on just a second. I forgot to mention, because I deleted it on our outline, was if you would like to ask us questions, use the hashtag SDConCast on Twitter or add us at SD_comic_con, or post in the chat, which is actually very chatty today, so we may not see it. So you may want to save your questions for when we actually ask for questions, because otherwise we may not see it. But I'll try and keep an eye on it and catch them as we go. But we're basically only going to be answering mostly panel questions, and we're going to be going through the big rooms. So the only ones we may need to answer after we're done are the ones for smaller rooms or random questions that we didn't quite cover in as we go through. So
Okay.
go ahead and listen, and we
answer,
probably won't have too many.
I'm going to answer 2 really quick questions. James Binder. So, might be able to walk into Kingsman. Yes, that's what I just said. Scott Mueller. Love the Mr. Robot shirts. These are actually our staff shirts this year, and I think we can all guess whose idea this was.
I wonder who's that one.
All right, moving on. Farm 20.
I'm worried about that Ferris wheel.
But I've heard there's going to be an offsite, so I'm like, I'm not hoping for a Ferris wheel, but I think there's going to be something.
That'd be awesome. Ballroom 20, Thursday, starts off at 10 a.m. with the 18th annual Show of Shows with Ron Diamond. And that's a curated program of animated shorts from around the world. You're still laughing about your Ferris wheel, aren't you?
Yes.
So that's 10 to 11:30. And then also be audience Q&A, of course. 11:45 is Medina, world premiere sneak peek, post-apocalyptic series. From the Middle East, from the writers, producers of Saw, Prana, and Friday the 13th, and 12 Monkeys. I know nothing about this, if either of you guys do, but it's Natasha Henstridge and Eric Roberts will be there, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know anything about this either.
So, a whole episode in that. So I guess not a whole lot of time for Q&A though. If you're watching the whole episode, you get maybe 20 minutes of Q&A.
It's the annual sleep through panel on Thursday morning. It's just not done by CBS this year.
It looks cool. So 11:15, Sci-Fi hosts the Great Debate. Or excuse me, 1:15 in the afternoon, Sci-Fi hosts the Great Debate.
And I actually have panelists for this. It's going to be Adam Savage, Orlando Jones, Aisha Tyler, John Behrman, and more to be announced. And they'll be debating the most influential moments, milestones, and people in genre history.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
It actually does.
I want to go. So at 2:30 is the Battlestar Galactica reunion, which is awesome. Carrie, you saw a sneak preview of that at ATX last month.
Yep. And that was amazing. Like, they had literally the entire cast except Jamie Bamber, who Skyped in, and there's one other person missing. But I feel like if this is even half as good as that panel was, you're gonna want to go to this.
So no cast is listed in the schedule, or I don't think announced anywhere. Right?
We know some. It's gonna be Ron Moore, obviously the creator. Trisha Helfer, Katie Sackhoff, Mary McDonnell, Grace Park, and more still to come.
I thought I saw Candace McClure was at another panel that day, or in one of the 2 days announced, so I think she may end up showing it.
I have a feeling that most of the cast will probably be there. I think it's probably just too early for them to have nailed down availability.
Right.
So that may be full. That room may be full at that point. So after that is the Strain 3:45 Strain screening, which is hard to say, in Q&A. They're in their 4th season, I want to say.
This is going to be the last season. I know that.
Interesting. I'm trying to count how many Hilton banners I've seen over the years.
4. It's 4. God, I know it. I don't want another.
Please bring Legion. Please bring Legion on the Bayfront. That's still 4:45 at 5 p.m. Oh, well, there's Legion. So FX follows with Legion from 5 to 6. And it looks like a whole lot of cast and creative team are there.
Yeah, it's a really good lineup. So it's got Noah Hawley, who's the showrunner, and he also does Fargo. And they're going to have some producers, but then Dan Stevens is coming, Rachel Keller, Aubrey Plaza, Gene Smart, Bill Irwin, Jeremy Harris, and Amber Midthunder. And this is like what I'm most excited about this year.
Yeah, this is the big one for us on Thursday as well.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
That'll be followed at 6:15 by Marvel Television and Inhumans, which is, again, I didn't see no guests in the Comic-Con listing. I don't know if you guys know any.
No, for this one, they actually haven't announced cast. But the one thing I did want to mention is I know, like, when S.H.I.E.L.D. first premiered at Comic-Con, we got, like, the whole pilot. I really don't think that's going to happen here this time. Number one, they don't have enough time padded in for that. And number two, because it's getting a big IMAX theater release with the pilot, we're not going to get that. You'll get to see some footage, but you're not going to get the whole thing. But on the plus side, that probably means you'll get to spend a lot more time talking with the cast. So
Right.
Wraps up Ballroom 20 for Thursday.
All right, so let's talk real quick about the flow of this room. I don't know. I feel like that Battlestar Galactica reunion panel is going to be big. But maybe I'm alone in thinking that.
Well, no,
It
yeah, I'm
feels
sure.
like it is. So that's,
Might be enough.
I think that you're going to get a significant number of people in there that decide to come in and camp for Legion, like we will be.
Yes.
But I think you're also going to get a decent amount of people coming and going. I honestly don't think you're going to get too many people leaving after the first couple of panels.
I agree. I don't feel like
they're just not.
Yeah, nobody's going there for those.
Right. So I think if at this point, if the room does not fill up first thing in the morning, which it probably won't at this point, I think that you probably can get into the room anytime during those first two panels. And then it's going to start filling up or be full for the Great Debate and the Battlestar panel, because people will start coming in for that while everyone is still staying in that are hanging out for Strain and Legion and Inhumans.
I agree.
That's Legion, I think, is going to make it pretty full.
I agree.
I think that's pretty popular. And I think you're going to be adding in the fact that Inhumans, even though Inhumans is kind of up in the air as to whether people actually are going to want to see it or not, it's still a Marvel property, and people are still hopeful, I think. So it's going to get a lot of people there, especially if they announce that cast will be there. So I think you're just going to, as you get closer to 5 o'clock with the Legion panel, you're just going to get that room filled and then a line, and it's not going to go away until either after Legion or after partway into Inhumans.
So basically what you're saying is if you want to get into Battlestar Galactica, and again, when we talk about these things, we're only talking about getting into the room. I would probably be lined up before the Great Debate starts. And truthfully, if it were me, I might even go one panel before that. And then if you want to be in for Legion, I would be in line while Battlestar Galactica is going on, because I do think some people will leave after that. But I feel like anyone who's in the room for the Strain is really probably going to be there for Legion as well, and there's not going to be much turnover.
Right.
So.
All right.
All right. So I will tackle Indigo. So we are going to start our morning off in Indigo at 10 a.m. with the 5th annual musical Anatomy of a Superhero, and this is basically composers from TV and film. It's got composers from Cloak and Dagger, Logan, Gotham, Legion even. And not only that, but they also give away some posters and signed CDs and other things if you ask a question during the panel. They do this every year. It's really cool, especially if you like music. Then at 11, there's Anything Goes with John Barrowman, which is always a delight. And he means it. Like, anything goes. Some crazy things have happened on that panel.
Definitely.
At 12 o'clock, we have Freeform is actually like doing things at Comic-Con. Last year they did come. They brought Dead of Summer, which is now canceled. But this year they brought 2 shows that we know of, which is big. So they're going to bring Stitchers, first of all, at 12 p.m. And they are bringing cast members Emma Ishta, Kyle Harris, Ritesh Rajan, and Damon Dayoub. And they will also be showing an exclusive clip from the next week's episode. And then at 1 p.m., you've got Shadowhunters, which I know a lot of people are really excited about. And that one is actually going to have Catherine McNamara, Dominic Sherwood, Alberto Rosend, Imarab Tobia, Matthew Daddario, Isaiah Mustafa, and Harry Shum Jr. This podcast is always like, how many ways can we butcher people's names? Like,
and we gave you all the good ones, it looks like.
I know. Gosh. Thanks, guys. I think it's a huge deal that Shadowhunters there. I'm really excited about that. And if I wasn't going to see Legion, I would totally be here for this. They will also be showing an exclusive clip from an upcoming episode during that. And then at 2 p.m., you've got Colony, which is going to have some cast, but I don't have cast for that one, unfortunately. At 3 p.m., we've got Van Helsing, which they're bringing a whole bunch of stars. Kelly Overton, Jonathan Scarf, Missy Peregrine, Christopher Heyerdahl, Paul Johansson, Alex Ponovic, and Rukia Bernard. Thank you guys so much for this. Z Nation is at 4, which is great because we all thought Z Nation wasn't coming. But that was also really weird because their co-creator was like, we're not going. And then it showed up on the panel and their co-creator was like, I didn't know it was going. So that was very weird.
Somebody forgot to tell him.
I know. And he's like the co-showrunner as well. So it was even weirder. But Z Nation is going and they're bringing cast, including DJ Qualls and some other people. And then at 5, we have Kim. Do you actually want to talk about this one?
Yes, and then I have a question for you. But first, it was funny. This originally didn't. It had a different. There was a glitch in the matrix on the schedule yesterday, and this had a different title originally. So I think some people might have missed it. But there is actually 2 doctors coming, 5 and 6, for a classic Doctor Who panel. And a preview of the last episode, The Wheel in Space, the newly reconstructed last episode. I think they did. This is the one that they did animated based on voice recordings. So that's coming to BritBox. This is hosted by BritBox, which will have the complete collection of Doctor Who, or classic Doctor Who rather, and this newly reconstructed episode. And it looks really neat. So Peter Davison and Colin Baker, along with companion Sophie Aldred, are going to be on that, and that's 5 p.m.
And that looks awesome. Let me do this one last room, and then you can ask your question. Okay. And then finally at 6 p.m., we've got Sonic and Sega in concert, which is going to have master composer Shota Nakama. And it's basically just going to be him talking about creating the concert music. It's going to be, there's actually combined with video footage and live performance. So it sounds really cool. So if you're into that at all, I would definitely check that out. All right, Kim, what's your question?
Well, how come Sci-Fi is now split between Ballroom 20 and Indigo, and I think similar time slot? Why don't they have one big time slot in one room?
You know what my honest answer is they are bringing way more this year than they did last year. Like I think it's funny because if you notice, they didn't announce like officially for USA. Like they just went up on the Hollywood Reporter, but I think it's because they're bringing, I think, something like 22 panels for Sci-Fi and 2 for USA. So I think they were probably like, maybe we should just leave these 2 off and not like. They're the stepchildren of Comic-Con for Universal this year, I think. But I really and truly think it's just because Sci-Fi has so much stuff that they're bringing this year. That's my guess.
Which is great, yeah. So thank you.
So what do we think is going to be the flow of this room?
I think there's going to be a lot of turnover. A lot of these things don't have a lot to do with each other. I mean, you'll probably get like some crossover between Stitchers and Shadowhunters. Be like some crossover between like Colony, Van Helsing, and Z Nation, but I feel like for the most part, people going to these panels are going for something specific. Like, I don't feel like somebody's going to be like, yeah, I love all of these. I'm going to sit in there all day. And maybe you are that person. But I feel like of these, the two that are probably going to be a little bit difficult to get into are John Barrowman and Shadowhunters. But for both of those, I feel like if you just show up like an hour early, you're probably fine. That's my guess. What do you think?
I think so. I think there's going to be a few tough spots, but I mean, I think at this point, this room maybe will have like highs and lows. So you'll be able to get in during certain panels, no problem. But then it will stack up right before the big ones, like you mentioned, Shadowhunters and the Barrowmen. But I think it was 2 years ago. I think the Awesomes panel was right before Barrowman, and I walked right in and was sitting like in the front half of the room right before a Barrowman panel. So I don't think and it was in Indigo, so it's the same room. So I don't think you're actually going to have a huge problem getting into most of these. It just may have a few impact moments or times where it'll stack up a little bit. But I think if you get there for the ones you think are going to be the most popular, if you get there the panel before, I think you should be okay.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is going to be a fun day. All right.
A quick question from Scott on the chat was, is that a real cat behind Kim?
Yes, that is Hodor. She's actually sitting next to his name, so that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, there you go.
Dogs and cats. In this podcast, anything goes.
Basically. Okay, so next up is room 6 BCF, which I think is about a 2,000 seat room.
It is. I have the room capacity open. So 6 BCF holds, 2160.
Okay. So first up, we have at 10:30, Voltron from DreamWorks, the Netflix series. Looks like it's going to have all attendees will receive an SDCC exclusive poster created by the Voltron crew. So that's pretty cool. It's going to have some of the producers and such, and they're going to just talk about season 3. Next up, I think, starts a run of video game panels. First up with Call of Duty World War II Nazi Zombies World Reveal. Again, attendees will be getting something for free, a Call of Duty Nazi Zombies poster. Then at 1 p.m., Marvel Games. This one, they did not announce that they're giving away any free, so Marvel is the first fail of the day, not giving away things like the other people.
Real quick, I just wanted to say last year that Call of Duty poster was actually a Mondo poster, so you might pay attention.
It's limited edition, so
who knows?
They didn't say it's SDCC exclusive, but it is limited edition. So after Marvel Games at 2:15 is the DC Universe Original Movies 10th Anniversary. And this is basically just a celebration panel of all of the Warner Brothers home entertainment movies that have come out over the last 10 years. They're releasing a collection, a 10th anniversary collection with a box set. And so this is basically just like gathering a bunch of people together to talk about the years of doing these, including Bruce Timm and James Tucker, Alan Burnett, Jim Krieg, Kevin Conroy, Tara Strong, John DiMaggio, Vanessa Marshall, and some very special guests. So this one looks like it's going to be pretty cool. At 3:30, we have the resurrected TV show Timeless coming back for a fan tribute celebration. This one's going to have cast members Abigail Spencer, Matt Lanner, Malcolm Barrett, Goran Viznik, and producers Sean Ryan and Eric Kripke. This one is going to be pretty cool. I think that this one is turned into kind of a fan favorite kind of a show, and got a lot of good press when it was canceled and then resurrected 3 days later. Was it 3 days or just 2 days? Something like that. It was just a few days. So it was really cool. And it's good to see it coming to Comic-Con despite the fact that it had been canceled. I don't think they're going to have anything, right?
No, I don't think they're going to have anything either because I don't think it airs until like 2018. But the thing is, like, yeah, I think even when they announced it, they were like, we're bringing it back for you guys because fans are the reason it was brought back from the dead. So I think it's awesome that they did bring it here.
Yeah. And then next at 4:45, we had Ghosted. This is the premiere panel for this. It's starring Craig Robinson and Adam Scott. And basically, it looks like a comedy version of X-Files, essentially.
I've heard really good things. I didn't go, but they screened the pilot at ATX, and everybody I heard who saw it loved it.
That's good. And it's got two people that are very popular with both Robinson and Scott. So this looks like it's going to be a fun panel. At 6 o'clock, we have The Exorcist coming back for its second season. And it looks like we're going to have, let's see, a bunch of cast members, producers.
Alfonso Herrera, who's on Sense8, I wish they'd send him over to Straczynski's panel. Just hold our own Sense8 panel.
There you go. They're going to have highlights and insights on the new season. 7:15 is 12 Monkeys. This one is going to have the producer and cast. Did they list cast in yours?
Yes, I have cast. It's Terry Metalis, Aaron Stanford, Amanda Scholl, Emily Hampshire, Allison Down, and Todd Stashwick.
Okay, so they're going to have basically some teases for the upcoming season, which is the final season. And they're going to have some exclusive surprises. So if you're a 12 Monkeys fan, I think you're definitely going to want to head to this one. And then at 8:30 p.m., the night is ended with the California Browncoats presenting Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog, which requires singing along, if you wish. There's going to be a costume contest, some prizes, and, of course, Dr. Horrible with some singing along. And that is it for 6BCF. Now, let's go over what we expect this to be. And I think this is the same situation as the last one, which is basically quite a bit of turnover, as it starts with Voltron, but then goes to video games and then goes to TV.
I feel like almost all of this is going to be a walk-in. I feel like if anything's going to have a little bit of a line, it'll be Voltron and Timeless.
I think has 12 Monkeys had lines in the past? Because that seems like it's got a pretty good core following.
So? Maybe.
I mean, so, but yeah, nothing on here.
7:15 p.m., like 2,000 people.
Oh, yeah. I think. Well, I mean, that means a lot of people will be out of other panels, and there won't be as many conflicts.
Maybe. I feel like at that point, everybody just wants food.
Yes, that's true. But yes, I expect Voltron will be pretty popular, and it might even fill up for Voltron because it has filled up in the past, especially at WonderCon. But those were in like about 1,000-seat rooms.
Yeah, this is bigger.
But it has filled up and had excess people, so I expect Voltron to be pretty popular. The video game ones tend to not fill up, but when they see that there's a free poster, maybe people will walk in to try and get a free poster.
I sat through the Call of Duty Mondo poster one last year for Mr. Robot, and it was like, walk in, get fifth row, so you'll be fine.
Okay. Timeless, yes. I expect Timeless to be fairly crowded. Again, don't know if it's actually going to fill up. I'm actually hoping it doesn't, so we can sneak out of the one room we're in and go into this for a few minutes at least, but we'll see how that goes. And then nothing else really is going to fill up, I think, for the rest of the day, although I'm not sure if the sing-along blog still packs the room, but it has in the past. So just be aware that has packed the room in past years, but I don't know if it still does since it's been, I think, a decade now that it's been going. I think this may actually be the 10th year.
That's crazy.
I think it's crazy.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
All right, Kim, do you want to do 6A or you want me to?
Oh, feel free.
I get to say all the fun names again? Thanks. All right. So at 10 a.m., we are going to kick things off with a Titan-sized 1-hour episode of Teen Titans Go. They will have voice cast, which do we know the voice cast coming? We do. It's going to be Greg Sipes, Tara Strong, and Scott Minville, as well as producers for an episode of that. And then at 11:15, it's going to be Unikitty, which is going to have producers and voice talent Eric Baza as they give a sneak peek of the new series. And again, you can actually see an episode of that the night before on preview night. At 12:30, We have Justice League Action, which is going to have voice cast Diedrich Bader, Jason J. Lewis, Rachel Kim Z, and some creatives as they talk about that. And then we go to 1:45 with Rocco's Modern Life. So the Nickelodeon show is, I think it's coming back. I think they're giving it like a revival. Yeah.
It is. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So they're going to have Tom, Kenny, Carlos, Alaz, Rocky, and several other people on the panel as they talk about that. Then at 3 p.m., we change things up and do a discussion with Robert Kirkman. And this is always fun, and I assume you guys know who Robert Kirkman is, but if not, he's basically the creator of The Walking Dead. He runs Skybound Entertainment. At 4:15, we've got Batman, Mask of the Phantom remastered and ready for Blu-ray. This is a Warner Archive panel, and I just want to make sure. Yeah, so it's going to be D.W. Ferranti and Matthew Patterson, and honestly, like, it doesn't even matter what this is about. Those two are awesome and hysterical. So if you find yourself free at 4:15 p.m., I highly recommend this. At 5:30, we've got Comixology and IMDb, and they're actually going to have Kevin Smith hosting, Mark Bernardin, Julie and Shauna Benson, and some other folks, as basically they do like a trivia thing. They'll be giving out prizes. It'll be fun. And then at 6:45, in what is an entirely too small of a room, and I almost don't even want to say this because I'm hoping I can maybe sneak into this. It's really weird to me that this is getting its own panel instead of being on part of the Saturday Hall H.
Hall H, yeah.
Warner Brothers panel, and I really and truly don't understand why they've done this, but the official schedule doesn't list what cast is coming, but they announced today, and like, it's way too good of a cast to be in this room.
Right?
Right.
What were they thinking?
Right, because let's see here. What is the capacity of this? Like 1,000. 1,000 people, all right? And this cast includes Dave Franco, Justin Theroux, Abby Jacobson, Olivia Munn, Kamal Nanjiani.
Nanjiani.
That's it. Michael Pena and Zach Woods. Like, how is that in a room for 1,000 people?
No
so
idea.
Is it possible, I think this happened last year, if enough people click on the sched that they're like, oh, we need to move this to another room. So that could still happen, right?
Yeah, let's make this the new Pokemon Go. Come on, kids.
And actually,
oh, that's right. It was Pokemon. That's right.
they could just delay it 15 minutes and put it into Hall H, because there's nothing after 5:45 in Hall H, if I remember correctly.
Right. Like, come on, kids. I want to go to this, and I don't have a shot if it's in like 6A.
So maybe, hey, someone be listening. Maybe move it to Hall H. You have an open room.
Please.
So is it Ninjago or Ninjago? I have
Ninjago, I think.
Yeah, it's Lego Ninjago.
I'm trying to find it to click on it in the sched.
Ninjago. All one word, though.
Yeah,
and then,
basically. But again, that's like way too good of cast.
Yeah.
And then what's the last thing in
I think
room?
that was it, isn't it?
Was it you did the Kung Fu?
The
Kung Fu Extravaganza, 20th anniversary celebration.
Thank you. We are together. Yeah, and they do this like every year. So
yes, they do. But it's the 20th anniversary.
There you go. All right, more of you. Somebody said 225 people have clicked so far. More of you go say you want to go see Lego Ninjago. Thank you. Let's move it.
Yeah. So basically, the Lego Ninjago is going to be
insane.
The big thing.
Well, not only that, but you've got Kevin Smith right before it. Like, dear God.
So Teen Titans Go, Unikitty. I mean, we're expecting those to be popular, but not like packed popular. No. Justice League Action, again, popular, but probably if it wasn't for the things coming right after, might be a little bit, easy. It might be easier to walk into, but I think most of those up through, I think it's going to start getting crowded either right before or during Kirkman if it already isn't packed for Kirkman.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of ebb and flow a bit because I think a lot of people may stay through the Phantasm panel, and because they want to be in there for Kevin Smith and the Lego Ninjago. But I think the Lego Ninjago is going to push back. If they're keeping it in this room and more people realize who's going to be there, I would expect this to probably fill up the room at least 2 panels before at this point, because the panel right before is Kevin Smith, so you have that added push of people. It's basically going to be very crowded in 6A on Thursday.
Yes, it is. And I'm so sad because I would have loved to see a panel with Justin Throw, but that's okay. All right, so that pretty much does it for Thursday for the big rooms, right?
You want to go over either 7AB or what's in the Horton? I think there's a few big.
Sure. Yeah. Let's look at the Horton.
So the Horton, starting at noon, is Embracing the Romantic, which is, I think it's basically about books and things.
Great description.
I'm trying to read real quick. 60 Seconds with SFF Authors at 1:30. I'm guessing that's about authors of science fiction and fantasy, but I may be guessing on that one as well.
I think you're right. And then at 3 p.m. we have comedy writers, but this includes Liz Climo. I don't know how we say her name, but she does those like adorable little animal cartoon things, and I love her. At 4:30, Because You Love to Hate Me, which is young adult, and then we get to some slightly better stuff, right? Maybe not.
At 6 is the Superhero Family Feud, which is basically looks like it's another contest game show / trivia show, which apparently the proliferation of those across the convention circuit has reached Comic-Con, because I think there's at least 3 of them just on Thursday. But this one is going to be done Family Feud style with a bunch of people like Shannon and Dean Hale, Cecil Castellucci, Jason Reynolds, Rainbow Roll. Basically a bunch of comic book writers, it looks like, are going to be coming in and doing this. It's basically just going to be a Family Feud style game. And then at 10 p.m. is the Netflix surprise screening.
Though I believe they've updated this, and maybe it said this before, but it now says of an upcoming original movie. So
yes,
it's not going to be a show. So considering we have Bright and Death Note already there that day.
We're expecting one of those 2 probably.
That's what I would think.
That's what I would think too. But it says stay tuned and visit the Netflix booth on the convention floor to learn more. But remember, Horton Grand is the ticketed location where you have to go up to sales and get a ticket and then go to Horton Grand with your ticket. I think it's about 15 minutes before. If you do not show up on time, they will not let you in.
Yes, and at a certain point, and you can go find this information on our site or CCI site, at a certain point they stop giving out tickets, and basically they'll put out a board that says, like, for this panel we have 100 tickets left, for this panel we have 200 tickets left, and then you actually have to make your way over to the Horton Grand just to pick up your standby tickets. So
right. So we don't expect the tickets to be at the Netflix booth. Even though it's a special screening, the Horton Grand runs through sales. Yeah. If that changes, we will make sure, if they announce that it changes before the convention, we will make sure everyone knows. But plan on going to sales for your ticket before 7 o'clock. I'm pretty sure you would have to go up there and get it. But go to the Netflix booth for more information, but go to sales for the ticket.
Yeah, and somebody asked, is this at the Horton Grand Hotel? It's at the Horton Grand Theater, but somebody else might want to explain where that is.
Right.
That is next to you, Kim, you're outside.
Grand Hotel. Say that again.
So you're the outside Comic-Con. You know where it is.
Yeah. So it is right next to the Horton Grand Hotel.
Okay.
There you go.
It's gonna be like it's away. It's over there.
Yeah, so, it's over there. Of these, Netflix is the only one that's going to sell out. Let's be honest.
Correct.
And let's look real quick. What's the capacity on Horton?
It's like low. It's like 250 or something like that, or 420.
Yeah, 240.
Some low number. 240. Okay.
Yep.
It's unfortunate they aren't. Well, I don't know if the nearby theater is any better, actually, than a regular theater. It may not be any bigger, actually. So that's what we got right now until the new theater opens next year.
Fair enough. All right. So, did we want to do our dark horse picks, or did you want to do? Okay. All right. Kim, you go first.
Does Kim have one?
Do you have one?
I already talked about mine.
Okay.
You did.
So that
right.
was the classic Doctor Who panel is my pick for. I don't know if it's going to be Dark Horse because there are a lot of Doctor Who fans these days, but that was kind of neat to see that classic Doctors will be coming. So I'm going to try to make that one.
All right, James, you go.
Oh, you go. I have. Let me find it. I gotta find it because I want to actually talk about it. And I didn't put a copy of it in here. This is going to take me like 2 seconds. Okay, so I have as mine the Dinosaurs, Monsters, Movies, and the Blues, The Worlds of William Stout. And so the reason I picked this one mainly is because it says that William Stout has been to every single Comic-Con. And this is just a panel with him talking about basically his career, because he's done everything from comics to movie design to book illustration to movie posters, album and CD covers, murals, theme park designs. I mean, basically, he's done everything as an artist that you probably can do. And this probably is going to be an interesting panel, and maybe he'll even talk about Comic-Con over the years, in addition to his art career. So I think this one would be pretty cool. And this is in room 32AB at 10 a.m. So you can start off your con with basically a con legend, a con veteran. So there you go.
Very nice. And then for my dark horse pick, and I actually have a couple, but to start us off, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew, even though it very much looks like we're not going to have a Sherlock panel this year, which makes sense. There's nothing to promote at the moment. There will be a Sherlock Comics panel with Stephen Moffat and his wife/producer Sue Vertu. And they'll be offering sneak peeks, art previews, and announcements about the comic adaptation. And each person who goes to the panel will actually get a free gift. And that is at 12 p.m. over in 5AB.
All right.
Another one real quick I want to spotlight is Mondo Mania, which is over at 7AB at 1 p.m. If you like Mondo, this is the place to go.
Yes.
I've got Tom Whalen, Jason Edmiston, Jay Shaw. It's going to be good.
Yep. Okay, so I wanted to highlight something else that most people don't probably get out to is over at the library. They have some panels as well. And one of the ones they're doing is Batman the Animated Podcast Live. And that is going to have Justin Michael hosting and Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman from the animated series and a bunch of movies. And they're basically going to do a live podcast at the Neil Morgan Auditorium in the library at 11 a.m. So that looks pretty cool.
Yes.
And I think I typically have a nice long list of dark horses, but I think this year I'm going to keep it short and basically tell you, go look through the schedule, because you will find gems you did not realize were there if you actually spend time to go through everything on the schedule, which I will be doing. I haven't done it, read every single line, but there's a lot. And I'm going to be doing that probably on Saturday or Sunday. So.
Well, I'm going to be James this year then, and I'm going to do one more. At 2 p.m. over in 23 ABC, there's also Image Comics Creating the Future of Comics. And this has Scotty Young and Gail Simone and Kat Staggs and Doug Wagner. And that's a pretty deep talent pool.
And I think Gail Simone is also doing a spotlight panel if you don't catch her at that one. So.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go, indeed. All right.
We have a few questions. Let me see if there are any of them we need to answer.
Are library panels badge free?
I believe they are.
I believe they are as well, actually. Yeah.
So you don't even need a badge to go?
I don't think so.
There you go.
Okay.
And Epic Skyline in the chat points out the Stargate 20th reunion, which I didn't run across on the schedule, but we did know about that in advance, and I am also excited for that. So I'm not even sure what room it's in.
That is in, let me look real quick. That is going to be in, that's actually going to be over the Marriott in Grand Rooms 1 and 2 at 6 p.m. And they don't mention cast, but they do mention special guest. So it's possible that someone could show up. So we'll see.
Right. Okay, so that is Thursday. Now we're moving on to Friday. And
Woo.
we're starting off with Hall H. So let's get right into it. 10 a.m. Big Bang Theory. And it's basically going to be inside the biggest moments of season 10, preview of the next season, all that kind of stuff with cast and creators, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it says who's going to be there, but I know that we do know some people. I think we know some people that are going to be there, right?
For Big Bang, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. This is going to be from 10 to 11.
Johnny Galecki, Kaylee Cuoco, Kunal Nair, Mayim Bialik, and Kevin Sussman, and I'm sure I screwed up some of those names too.
At 11:15 is AMC's Fear the Walking Dead with a bunch of the cast members. And then at 12:15 is The Walking Dead with a bunch of cast members, including Andrew Lincoln, Norman Reedus, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Lauren Cohen, Denai Guerrera, Melissa McBride, Lenny James, Chandler Riggs, Seth Gilliam, Alana Masterson, and Carrie Payton. That is a ton of people. They usually bring a lot of people on these panels, so
Yeah, they do.
they're basically doing their normal thing. And then at 1:30, again, with the normal thing, only something's a little different this year. We have the Game of Thrones panel, and what's different is that the show is actually airing when the panel happens. So they either have more or less to talk about, depending on how the panel goes.
I know. I'm really curious to see how this goes. Like, there's absolutely no possible way I'm going to this. You could pay me to line up for this. But I'm really curious, like, what they do. Because, like you said, they've never been to Comic-Con before and actually been on the air. Like, are
Right.
they going to show footage with as, like, spoiler-phobic as they are about the show? It's going to be interesting.
I think that they can probably put together a sizzle reel of the remaining season without having too many spoilers and basically treat the Comic-Con crowd to something that they haven't been able to do before. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds like something that they probably would do or should do to kind of give the crowd something new after what is it, like 6 or 7 years of panels?
Did you mention the moderator?
The moderator,
I just saw that. That's very interesting.
a special Westerosian guest.
I think it's
Westerosian.
yeah. There you go. It's got to be Hodor, right?
Yes, that's what I was just thinking. Christian Narn.
Yeah.
Your cat?
I apologize.
Cat is the moderator?
But
Yes.
I would feel, I mean, it could be anyone else, but this is.
But
You know
he's
what?
in town and he's like DJing every
Did you-
freaking event.
Wait
like,
a second. I bet you it is Kim's cat because Hodor just left. I bet you the
Oh, no.
cat doesn't want to spoil anything, so just like booked out of here.
Hody. That's I don't know why they wouldn't give it away, but I
It's
feel like
gotta,
that's
it's gotta be him. It's gotta be him.
So
All right.
next up at 2:45 is the panel that I am very sad that I'm not going to make it to, and that is Twin Peaks, a damn good panel. And seriously, this is going to be awesome. 2:45 to 3:45. It's going to have Kyle MacLachlan and a bunch
Oh,
of
do you
other
want-
people.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, let's go that
put-
list of that one too because it's an awesome list.
Yeah, it is. All right. Is like James said, Kyle MacLachlan. Come on, open. Kyle MacLachlan, Tim Roth, Dana Ashbrook, Kimmy Robertson, Everett McGill, Matthew Lillard, James Marshall, Don Murray, Naomi Watts, and it's going to be moderated by Damon Lindelof, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
The big question, though, is will David Lynch make an appearance?
I hope so. I'll buy him a chocolate milkshake if he shows up.
Well, if he's listening, I hope he heard you.
Yes. He
Yes.
did. He listens all
Epic
the time.
Skyline in the chat mentioned that George Martin has been the one moderating, which actually just cast doubt in my brain about Hodor. So
It's possible, but I don't know. I feel like if he was going to be moderating and he's done it in the past, like why not just say that?
yeah,
Like that's not a big surprise, you know?
all right, go back to your people.
Back to your regular scheduled program. Okay, so then at 4 o'clock is AMC's Preacher, and it looks like it's going to have Garth Ennis, Dominic Cooper, Ruth Nega, Joseph Gilgan, Ian Coletti, and Graham McTavish on the panel. An official sneak preview of the episode that will be airing just a couple of days later. And then at 5:15 is Netflix with Marvel's The Defenders, with basically surprise guests, but I'm expecting everybody.
No, they announced this.
They did.
Of the Thursday ones, but I didn't do the Friday ones.
Oh, well.
All right, so it's going to be, it's basically going to be the Defenders. Like, all 4 of them are coming. It's Charlie Cox, Kristen Ritter, Mike Coulter, and Finn Jones, plus special guests. But if you notice, they're doing a signing for Marvel's Punisher at the Marvel booth that same day. So I think you can probably take a guess who at least some of the special guest stars are.
There you go.
There you go.
At least one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is at 5:15, and that's it for All H on Friday.
And good luck getting in.
Right. Basically, it happens every year. It's an insane amount of people because both The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, especially, draw in enough people to fill that room.
Yeah, they do.
So,
and add on top of that, like Twin Peaks, Preacher, and the Defenders.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there is a chance that a significant number of people will be leaving the room after Walking Dead and Game of Thrones because there may not be as much crossover.
There's a chance.
But I don't think it's going to be like, hey, look, half the room cleared out. I don't think it's going to be that. I think there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of people leaving, but the room seats 6,500, so hundreds and hundreds is like 10% of the room. So don't expect a lot.
This is not going to be a walk-in all day long. So let's say you want to get in for what we consider the first big panel of the day, The Walking Dead. What time do you have to line up, James?
That's if you again, remember, this is just get in the room, not front of the room. I would expect you would be able to get in line in early morning, like
3 a.m.
3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 a.m.
Basically, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because
Comic-Con.
Yeah, and again, we're talking 3 a.m. like just to get in the room, not like, oh, I'll show up at 3 a.m. and get like 10th row. No. It's going to be super crowded all day long in there. But if you make it in, and if you were a fan of TV, like this is some damn good TV. So
yes, and I understand that Twin Peaks is a very select audience. There's not like the massive appeal of Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, but the fact that it has a very good core of fans. In addition to the fact that it's never been, in addition to the fact that The Defenders is coming 2 panels later, there may be people coming and going, but so many people will be staying for The Defenders.
not only that, but I feel like it's got such going. Like Naomi Watts. Like I'm excited about that. I'm not going to go to this, but I'm excited about that. So.
Yeah. So, basically, you're not going to have an easy time getting into this room without hours of waiting. I don't think it's going to be, Star Wars or Marvel WB type levels of waiting, but it's still going to be significantly more than just a couple hours, showing up at 6 a.m. and getting in. I don't think that, like I said, 3 or 4 probably, but again, judge based on the line. There will be line updates on Twitter, so just keep an eye on when the wristbands are getting to the D's if they get there overnight, and show up when you have to.
Yeah, so real quick, we don't have the official, like, here's how the wristbands are going to work this year. All we know that they are coming back, but it's the last 2 or 3 years, however many years they've been doing this, it's all been roughly the same. Do you want to give like a really quick overview of that, James?
So they allow lining up in what they call the next day line. Typically, the night before the day. It's hard to explain, but essentially a day and a half before is when you can start lining up. It's whenever they move the previous day's line into the tents, that next day line way back by the water will be able to be started. And then they will not hand wristbands out until the evening the night before. And then they will hand out wristbands until they are gone, essentially. If they run out, that means the room is likely going to fill up except for maybe a few extra people. So if you don't get a wristband, you're basically going to have to be risking it. So you want to be in line either before they hand out wristbands, if you think it's going to be getting rid of them all, or before they run out of wristbands if they haven't run out by the, if the line's not long enough. So you're basically just going to have to judge what's going on. And then there's rules for the wristbands, whether you want to leave the line or not. But basically, you have to be back in line. If you leave by, I think it's like 7 in the morning, 7:30, something like that. It's early in the morning. But basically, a wristband essentially guarantees you entry.
It doesn't, like you said, the way that it's worked in the past, it doesn't like guarantee you get to keep your place in line if you leave, but it does guarantee like you will make it into the room. But they haven't announced anything yet for this year. I actually think that will be coming on Monday, but we'll see if I'm right or wrong. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, and basically the only reason to get in line a day and a half before is if you're one of those people who wants to be in the front of the room. If you just want in, again, you don't need to show up that early. I mean, you can show up the night before, you can show up in the middle of the morning, but if you just want in the room, don't be one of those people that is showing up on Thursday for a Saturday or for a Friday thing, or Wednesday, Wednesday night would be the first time you can line up for a Friday panel. So don't do that thinking that you have to. You don't have to if you don't need the front of the room.
All right, on to Ballroom 20, Kim.
Okay, so 10 a.m. is the much anticipated Psych reunion and a sneak peek of their upcoming movie that's coming to USA this December. Carrie, I know. Oh, where'd it go? Carrie is excited.
I'm very excited about this one. They don't list which cast will be there, which probably makes sense. For anybody who doesn't know, I think you can very much count Tim Amundsen out. He unfortunately had a stroke a couple months ago, and he's still recovering. But I think beyond him, you can probably expect like the entire cast will be there. And this, like, Psych is the entire reason I originally went to Comic-Con, so I'm super excited.
Awesome. There's a lot of happy people there when that was announced. And then this is 10 a.m. again. That's not correct.
So it's actually going to be at 11:15 for iZombie. That's what you're looking at, right?
No, there's something Resist Rebellion and Epic Fantasy. That's not right. Let's go back to iZombie. James.
Oops.
There you go. Fixed it.
So iZombie is at 11:15, and they just finished their 3rd season, correct? I'm so behind, but it's a great show.
Yes, they finished their 3rd season. Does that list cast?
Does not. Do you have cast?
Nope.
Okay, I do have cast. It's going to be Rose McIver, Malcolm Goodwin, Raoul Coley, Robert Buckley, David Anders, and Ali Makoka, as well as Rob Thomas and Diane Ruggiero Wright. And again, that show is awesome, so you should go.
And I need to catch up. So then at 12:30 is the 100.
Do you want cast for that?
Yes, please.
Eliza Taylor, Bob Morley, Marie, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name, Lindsay Morgan, Christopher Larkin, Richard Harmon, and executive producer Jason Rothenberg.
So they're getting ready for their season 5, and I've only seen like a handful of episodes, but I know that has a good following there. At 1:45 is Brave New Warriors, which is kind of the male version. Male panel and panelists will include David Harbour from Stranger Things, Christopher Maloney, Colin O'Donoghue from Once Upon a Time, Richard Rankin from Outlander, Rodrigo Santoro from Westworld, and Ricky Whittle from American Gods. And it's just an awesome panel that looks like. So,
and it's really cool that Ricky Whittle is going for American Gods, because we already know that American Gods the series won't be there. So if you want like to see him at all, that's probably your only chance. And real quick, I did want to mention that Jonathan mentioned in the chat for Psych that Zachary Levi will probably be there, and yeah, he probably will. I know, I forgot that too.
Oh, that's because of the blonde hair in those pictures.
Yes, indeed.
Right. Hopefully the blonde hair is gone. Are they done filming? I think they are. I don't know. We'll see. So at 2:45 is sci-fi panel. As if they don't have enough panels, this one is just TBA. So
yeah, and I have zero guesses about what this could be. Do you guys have anything?
What's left? Expanse? Was there an Expanse?
Maybe Killjoys? All of those people who complained about Killjoys.
Magicians? I don't think I saw.
You don't think you saw what?
Magicians wasn't listed, right?
That's coming.
Oh, well, I have no guesses.
Maybe it is Killjoys then.
Killjoys wasn't announced anywhere?
Nope.
No, and one of the actors, one of the Ashmores, whichever one is on it, was
Blood Drive, someone said.
Yeah, took to Twitter to complain about them not going to Comic-Con. So
everyone else gets to go.
Yeah, so maybe. Who knows?
It's great that they have so many good shows. It's
not Dark Matter, it's not Sharknado 5, because both of those are already on the list that they released, basically. So Dark Matter is actually going to be on Thursday, and Sharknado is Friday. Both those are in 6DE. That's why we haven't talked about them. So
a placeholder for sci-fi there to see what they feel like bringing. 3:45 is the Gifted extended sneak peek. I don't know anything about this. I think
that's right.
For the banners that are on the front parking lot.
Yes, and what I'm really hoping comes is that amazing offsite for this,
where people are tested for their mutant gene.
Yes,
that'd be really cool, Fox.
Yeah, so they did this at Upfronts, and basically you go in and they test your DNA, and you get little stickers that say I got tested, and they for some people they tell you, by the way, you're a mutant. I really want this to be there.
I don't know where there's room left after all of our offsites currently, but that would be awesome. So that's coming from Fox in the fall. So a fall sneak peek. At 5 p.m. is Outlander. So I know people are looking forward to that. Ron Moore, Meryl Davis, Diana Gabaldon. I can't say her name. Why can't I say her name?
Again, this is the annual podcast of us butchering people's names.
Sam Hewn, Tobias, but everyone is, and they're all amazing. And I should, you can spell things, but you can't say them.
That's right. That's exactly it.
So that's looking forward to season 3. And I know they were all very excited about that. And excited to return to Comic-Con because they weren't there for season 2 after having a big premiere. So that should probably be very close to being packed. And then 7 p.m., switching gears to the world premiere of Batman and Harley Quinn. Is that Bruce Timm, Kevin Conroy,
Paget Brewster, Lauren Lester. It'll be a good panel.
From Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. And then very late at night-ish, 9:30 p.m. is an encore screening in case you go to dinner and come back.
And they do this every year. And basically the first one, they'll show the world premiere, and then you'll get a Q&A with the cast. And then for the second one, they'll re-show the special, but then there's no Q&A after it. So
awesome.
There you go. So what do we think on this room?
Outlander.
I think Outlander is going to be relatively crowded. I think there's a decent amount of crossover between iZombie and the 100. And I feel like, and maybe it's just because I'm a fan, I feel like there's a surprising amount of people who go to Comic-Con who are fans of Psych.
So it'll be packed early in the morning.
Yeah.
I think that it's possible that this room may be near full or full all day, but also have lots of turnover.
Yes, I agree completely with that.
The turnover will happen if Sci-Fi doesn't, if it stays TVA.
Yeah.
That probably won't
Absolutely. Well, and again, like, I'm not sure, like, I feel like there's probably a lot of crossover between like Psych, iZombie, and the 100. But then after that, like, I don't know how much that crowd is going to be into like The Gifted or Outlander, but maybe I'm wrong. So like James said, there'll just be a lot of turnover all day.
And since The Gifted is a new show, but it's a Marvel mutant show, it may get a significant amount of people for that, and especially since they're bringing so much of the cast.
Yeah.
And yes, Outlander, I think, is going to be a big draw for the day. So, and then the animated movies usually get a pretty big draw as well, since they bring cast members and have, you know, it's really cool. So I know that one gets a lot of people into it. But I don't know if you're going to need to camp for this one just to get in. I think for the most part, you can show up a panel or two before and most likely get in all day.
I think so too.
So I don't think this room's going to be a hassle of a room. I mean, it may
No.
be a little bit of a wait, but it's not going to be a hassle.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it'll be a walk-in, but I'm with you. I think if you just show up a panel or two ahead of what you want, like, you'll be fine.
I did want to answer a couple questions since we finished with the Ballroom 20 about Hall H. And the first one is from Pammy D. It says, where and when do wheelchair folks line up for Hall H for The Walking Dead? So basically a Hall H question. The ADA line for Hall H is right outside Hall H on the, what is that? I don't know what side that is. But it's basically the same side the tents are on, but it's on the cement. And it's whenever people decide they want to start lining up, I think you have to wait for the previous days to go in, so it can't start possibly. I don't know because I don't go into the ADA line, so I don't know how it works, but basically it has a line. They get let in just in the same manner as the regular line is with A, B, C, and D wristbands. And I think they just kind of filter them in groups in between the rest of the regular line going in. And when you line up is basically kind of the same thing for the regular line. There will be people getting there really early. And if you just want in the room, just make sure you're there paying attention to how many people are in line and when they get in line.
Yep.
And then the other question for Hall H was from Laura Love, which they don't give out wristbands till 11 p.m., I thought. I know that the first year they did wristbands, they gave them out till a specific time, then stopped, and then started again in the morning. But I think last year they went to handing them out until they were gone.
Yeah, they did.
So if that takes until 2 a.m., it takes until 2 a.m.
Yep.
So
All right. So any more questions, or are we moving on to Indigo?
we're moving on.
All right. So over in Indigo, it is the annual all-day Cartoon Network and Adult Swim show, basically. We start things off at 10 a.m. with OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, which I believe is a new show. I don't even know that it's aired yet, but it's going to have Ian Jones, Toby Jones, Courtney Taylor, Kate Flannery, and Dan Vader. Ooh, you just made it all disappear. At 11, we've got Steven Universe with Rebecca Sugar. And you can join her, Dee Dee Magno Hall, Michaela Dietz, Estelle. That's a big thing. AJ McCalka and Zach Callison. And this Steven Universe is always really popular and really not that easy to get into. So for that one, if you want to show up, I would probably be there like no later than 7 a.m. After that, we've got Adult Swim with the Jellies, which I know nothing about this, but it looks like you can preview an exclusive look at their new animated series, and it's going to have actor Phil Lamar as well as some producers. At 1:15, we've got Rick and Morty with Dan Harmon and Justin Rowland, and they'll have Sarah Chalk and Chris Parnell there as they invite fans to an inside look at the highly anticipated third season, which will be premiering this summer. And I know that was news. At 2:15, we've got Robot Chicken, which is there every single year. And that will have everyone from Robert Kirkman to Scott M. Gimple and a whole bunch of other folks. Are we sure?
Creator Matthew Senrick.
Yes.
I
Yes.
did not know
Doug
Robert
Goldstein?
Kirkman worked on Robot Chicken.
I didn't either. That's why I was reading this and I was like, what? Why is he on this panel? I just stop and be like, am I reading it? Like, is this the right panel description? But it is. All right. At 3:15, we've got Mike Tyson Mysteries, which includes actual Mike Tyson as well as Rachel Ramos and producer Hugh Davidson. And then at 4:15, we've got Bob's Burgers, which is going to have H. John Benjamin, Dan Mintz, Eugene Meerman, John Roberts, Christian Shaw, and Larry Murphy. And then at 5:15, Archer is back with, again, H. John Benjamin, Aisha Tyler, Jessica Walter, Chris Parnell, Judy Greer, Amber Nash, Lucky Yates, and more. And then finally, we end the night with the annual Eisner Awards. So I think this is the first year that Sci-Fi has sponsored it, right?
I think so. I don't remember Sci-Fi being a sponsor in the past.
I don't either. I saw that this morning and I was like, that's interesting. But for those that don't know, the Eisner Awards is basically the big comic awards that they do. You can attend. It's a lot of fun. Danny Pudi from Community will actually be one of the presenters, and they'll have some other presenters as well. And special guests Gail Simone, Jonathan Mayberry, Paul Denny, and Brian Selznick will all be there. So, but again, for the most part, this is like the all animation all day long panel.
Right.
And what that means, though, is that there's a lot of crossover between a lot of things. The ones that are really going to be big are Steven Universe, Rick and Morty, and Bob's Burgers. All three of those, truthfully, I've heard like people tell me that they've lined up like 2 or 3 hours before that, and the line has still been insanely long. So I would say 3 hours minimum for any of those.
Right.
Just because, like we said, like there's so much crossover here. Like if you make it in, like you're not gonna leave.
Probably not. I mean, I would expect maybe you would leave once the cartoons are over, possibly.
Yeah, like I
But-
don't really see like the Archer fans staying for the Eisners.
No, likely not.
But
And then what do we have next? Is it? Am I up next?
I think so.
I'm up next. 6 BCF again. All right. So 10 a.m. Young Justice Q&A. Producers and key members of the creative team will be there. And 11:15 is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which is basically looks like another video game panel. 12:45 Street Fighter 30th anniversary. Looks like it's going to be possibly a surprise visit from Yoshinoro Ono, but no
how is it a
confirmation.
surprise if you like announce it?
Maybe even a surprise visit. So maybe if he's, doesn't feel like showing up, he won't show up. At 2 p.m. is Middle Earth Shadow of War, a new Lord of the Rings game. Looks like this one is going to have a bunch of the creators and actors, including Troy Baker, Kumail Nanjiani, Pollyanna McIntosh, Laura Bailey, and some surprise guests. At 3:15 is Building Worlds with Blizzard. Basically, it's a behind the scenes of how they build their different franchises. At 4:30 is Skybound Entertainment with Robert Kirkman and others, including David Alpert, basically just discussing upcoming television and film. including, I think it's finally getting made, the Kirkman series Invincible, a docuseries called Heroes and Villains, and even more stuff. And they're joined by Catherine Winder, Sean First, TQ Jefferson, and basically just all things Kirkman, all things Skybound. At 5:45 is History's Vikings, and it's going to have Catherine Winnick, Gustav Skarsgård, Alexander Ludwig, and Alex Hoag Anderson, along with the creator Michael Hurst. Basically, just a sneak peek of the upcoming season, and the cast is showing up. And the Vikings panel is always a big one every year, and it's always in the small room every year. And then at 7 p.m., we have behind the scenes of Overwatch's newest hero. And then we have the developers of Overwatch, Michael Chu, Arnold Sang, Renaud Galan, and Jeff Goodman. Basically, another behind the scenes of their newest hero, and a Q&A. At 8:15, Worst Cartoons Ever, from, looks like the host, Jerry Beck, is bringing basically for the 15th year in a row, a bunch of really bad cartoons. And then at 9:30 is Spike and Mike's Sick and Twisted Festival of Animation, which is also a long-running panel, and it's basically a bunch of sick and twisted cartoons.
Yes.
And that is it for the day.
So let's talk about the flow of this room. So I feel like the big things in here are Blizzard, Vikings, and Overwatch. Would you agree with that? Well, Skybound's pretty big too. Yeah. I feel like if you're trying for anything before Blizzard, you're pretty much going to be fine. Starting with Blizzard, I feel like there might be some problems, especially because you've got like, this would be so much easier if Blizzard and Overwatch were scheduled together, but instead you've got Blizzard, Skybound, Vikings, and then Overwatch. So I feel like there's a decent amount of those people who may stay from Blizzard to Overwatch. Do you think so?
Probably.
So I feel like if you want to make it in for any of those 4 panels, I would probably be in there before Blizzard. So like if you want to go to Vikings, like I would head over there at like 2 p.m. And the other really awful thing about this is for fans of Vikings, the offsite stuff, it all like conflicts with this. So they're starting a basically a parade / death march / funeral down in the gas lamp at I think 5 or 5:30. It's one of those two where they will be like carrying the body.
Oh no, it's starting at noon, so you do have a few hours.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then at 7, so like immediately after the panel, is when they start the stuff over in the Embarcadero, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So which is basically going to have a Viking ship with a burning funeral pyre, basically.
And
so it's going to be awesome, but have fun running over there.
And they'll be giving out drinking horns there. So.
And the cast is going to be there, so basically they're going to be walking out, getting in a car, driving a half mile, and then getting out for the whole event. So expect it to be a very fun rush of a day if you're a Vikings fan.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about that. Did we have any questions?
Well, someone asked, shouldn't Vikings be in Ballroom 20? Probably.
One thing you have to remember, though, about a lot of these, and we say this every single year, is that it's not always like Comic-Con International, like placing it in these small rooms. Like a lot of times the studios will request a smaller room because they'd rather have a line for it than like put it in Ballroom 20 and Ballroom 20 only be half full. It just looks better. So it's not always CCI on that one.
Fair enough.
So we have, we didn't go over 6A, but that one is going to mainly, I want to mention it mainly because it's got the Hasbro My Little Pony panels to start off at 10:30. And then a few hours later at 1 is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles panel.
You missed Hey Arnold.
Oh, I skipped over that one. Arnold is at 11:45. At 2:15 is Disney XD's Star versus the Forces of Evil and Milo Murphy's Law. And with Weird Al. Weird Al's going to be there. And then at 3:30 is the big panel because it's Disney XD's DuckTales. And it's basically going to have most, if not all, of the cast. It's going to have David Tennant and Ben Schwartz and Kate McCucci and Denny Pudi and Beck Bennett and the creative team of Matt Youngberg and Frank Angonis and Sean Jimenez. But basically the big thing is that David Tennant's going to be there.
But nobody wants to go to that so that you can make it
no
in,
one,
right?
No one cares about that. He's
No
old
one.
news.
Totally.
Totally. News. And then after that at 4:45 is The Tick. And that is going to have, again, most of the cast, including Peter Serafinowicz and Jackie Earle Haley, Griffin Newman, Valerie Curry, Yara Martinez, Brendan Hines, Scott Spicer, Michael Cerveris, and moderator Ralph Garman. And as well as creator Ben Edlund and Barry Josephson and David Fury. So a ton of people for the Tick panel.
Yes.
6 p.m. People of Earth, which we've already seen that they will be greeting you if you're traveling to Comic-Con through the airport.
Yep.
They're going to have people for that one in at 7:15. Cards Against Humanity, the game, will actually be having a panel. At 8:30 is the annual Klingon Lifestyles panel. And at 10 p.m., what?
No, you go ahead, then I'll.
10 p.m. is the Twin Peaks Part 11 exclusive premiere ahead of the showing on Sunday. And that's just going to be a screening of part 11, the episode Part 11.
Yep. I wanted to mention real quick, in the Tick panel, they will be showing the world premiere of the second episode. You can actually, I'm pretty sure, still go watch the first one because of the way that Amazon does their pilots. And then, well, I've never been to the Klingon Lifestyles panel. Sarah, our graphic designer, went like years ago, and she like has not shut up about how much fun it was. So if you're looking for something super random to do on Friday night, like maybe check that out.
Okay, so what's up with this room? This room's going to be a pain in the butt.
Yes.
I think that most people will be trying to get in for DuckTales because Tennant is there, and it is already one of the top 10 most popular panels, beating out Hall H stuff.
And again, the room only holds like 1,000 people.
Yeah, and the room's going to start off crowded with My Little Pony because that always draws a crowd. Hey Arnold has a lot of fans, but I don't know if it would fill up the room normally. But with everything else that's going on, I think it's going to be full for that. Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, again, a lot of fans, may fill up, but there's also going to be people waiting for DuckTales. The Disney XD stuff right before it. Weird Al will have some fans wanting to be in there for that, but I think if you're not there early enough, basically any fans of that showing up to get at that panel like the hour or two before probably are going to be out of luck. And DuckTales will be packed.
Very, very packed.
And I think it may most likely clear out after that. I'm expecting it likely will. So if you want to go for the Tick, I think you basically just need to show up half an hour before, and I think you'll probably be fine.
I think so too.
Same for People of Earth. Same for Cards Against Humanity. I think at that point, you basically can walk into the room after Tick.
I agree. And I think you'll be fine even for that Twin Peaks premiere. Like, it's so late at night. I feel like most people aren't going to go to that.
What do we think is the get in the room for DuckTales, since that's basically the big panel of the day? It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one to judge because the people waiting for this room are going to be in the everything else line.
Yeah.
And you will not know how many people are going to that until everything separates when they let people in at 6:30 in the morning.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like at the latest, I would probably line up like while My Little Pony is going on and hope.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there will be some people who go just for My Little Pony and who leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there'll be a couple who leave from the others, but that's would be my game plan. And again, that's just to get in the room.
Yeah, be there. If you're really worried about it, be there at 6 or 7.
Yeah.
If you're really worried. If you just want to have a chance to get in the room, show up before the panels start for the day. So 8, 9, something like that. But it's gonna fill up, and I think it'll stay full as the day progresses because more and more people will see that the room is full and try to get in. So the line will probably be there all day because Tenet will draw. We all know he will because we all want to go see him.
I agree.
So good luck. We'll be there with you. Gotta go see Tenet because we haven't seen him at a con. So
It should be a broad church panel.
Kim.
It's all right.
and then we have the Horton Grand again. And this
Yep.
time it's going to be a slightly different theme for the day. At noon is I Know That Voice, the series, with a bunch of voice actors like John DiMaggio and Dee Bradley Baker. At
And they
1:30.
basically did this panel last year for the documentary, and I guess now they're making
Right.
it a TV series. So
There you go. Then at 1:30 is the Female Voices of Film Twitter, which is basically I guess it's a transportation of a TEDx talk into Comic-Con, basically. At 3 p.m. is Building the Studio of Tomorrow, which is basically what it sounds like.
yeah.
Then at 4:30 is World Creators Crossing Platforms, Film, TV, VR, AR, Gaming, and Comics. Panelists include Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, Ted Schlewitz, Kiki Wolfkill, Colin Slevin, and some other super cool surprise panelists. So this is going to be in partnership with VRCon, the host of the Futurism and Tech Pavilion at the Omni Hotel. And then at 7 p.m. is a screening of Princess Mononoke, and it will be hosted by her universe founder, Ashley Eckstein.
Didn't they do like literally that exact same panel last year? Like the Princess screening.
The Mononoke? Was it a different Ghibli film though, or was it Mononoke?
Let's look, because I'm like, I swear, like this is the exact same thing they did last year.
Yep.
It was. I was House Moving Castle last year. All right, fair enough.
Okay, there you go. I thought it was a different one, but there's promising trivia and prizes and a screening of the film. And remember, the Horton Grand is the one that you need to pick up the tickets and sales. Do we think any of these will be selling out? I'm expecting the film most likely will, because people do like to go see films even if they're older ones.
Yeah.
And it only seats 240, so I think that one may sell out. So just make sure you go get it at some point during the day when you have time.
Yep.
I don't know if how early it would sell out, but go get it.
All right. So who has a dark horse pick?
Oh, let me mention Room 7AB is Star Wars all day. So if you're a Star Wars fan, there's a ton.
Is it? I thought it was like all collecting this year.
Well, it's all the different kinds of Star Wars stuff. Star Wars steampunk, collectibles, publishing, science, just a bunch of different stuff, including one I want to point out at 4 p.m., the Star Wars and Fandom, the early years. We went to a version of this panel with the original Lucasfilm fan relations director, Craig Miller. We went to this at WonderCon, I think a year or two ago, and it's great because he has a bunch of slides of the early days and stories about stuff that they did in early Lucasfilm as fan liaisons, and it's really an interesting panel. That's at 4 o'clock in 7A. But yeah, Star Wars all day.
The biggest news we didn't talk about, though, guys, is that
What?
Gerard Way's coming.
Woo!
Woo! Gerard Way will be back again in room 5AB at 5:30 p.m., which, as I was writing this up, I looked is literally the exact same room and the exact same time slot he was in last year. But he'll be talking about his DC's Young Animal imprint, and he'll have a couple of special guests like Jody Houser, John Rivera, and some other folks. So that's big news for all of Twitter, it feels like.
Yes, especially for Lisa. Lisa's very happy that Gerard Way is going to be there.
Lisa. We're sorry.
Yes, she is.
So I pulled up the popular panels because you mentioned it. So the top 3 right now are 20th Century Fox, Netflix surprise screening, and Marvel's Inhumans, followed by John Barrowman. So what you kind of expect, but for the screening is a little surprised by that.
Is that the popular ones for Friday or for all panels?
For all, but I would like to state, I feel like this list is always
it's always skewed somehow.
Well, yeah, it's just because not everybody like is crazy like us and goes on and plans immediately. Like to me, the thing to do is to look at this list like 2 days before the convention starts and then see what it says.
Right.
But I think it is good feedback, like we were saying, for if you haven't used sked.com before, it's good feedback for them if they need to move the Lego panel, for example.
Yeah, so everybody go sign up to go see Lego and make them move it.
We can move it. So just on here for Dark Horse, Geek and Sundry panel with Felicia Day as Friday in room 5AB. And several of their other Geek and Sundry, Critical Role, Shield of Tomorrow, the Guild folks. And then I also saw, where'd he go? Adam Savage, his panel also on Friday. I lost it. But he's number 36 on this list so far. So that's
at 7 p.m.
5AB.
What's that? I think it's at 7 p.m. that night.
7:30 on Friday and 5AB.
I also wanted to mention, I'll shut up about Sense8 at some point, but J. Michael Straczynski, who's one of the co-creators of the series, he's doing his pretty much annual spotlight because he's always a Comic-Con International guest. He'll be in 60E at 5:30 p.m. and it's a really interesting talk. He'll probably talk a little bit about Sense8, but he'll talk about like everything he is going. And the year I went, I say this every time, but he was late because he actually like stopped mugging and was like, "This is the second time this has happened."
Second time?
Yes. Yes. So he's awesome and you should go.
I went to his panel before Sense8. So I went maybe 4 years ago and it was still interesting. So he's great.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So I highly recommend that.
So my my dark horse is the Vulture Eric Heiserer, if that's how you pronounce his name, panel. It's at 6 p.m. in room 29AB, which I assume is about a 200 or 300 seat room, so it's small. But he's the Oscar nominated writer of Arrival, and he's now writing Harbinger and Bloodshot for Valiant, and will be writing. I think he's writing Secret Weapons. Yeah, Secret Weapons is just coming out. But he will be also writing the impending Valiant Cinematic Universe films, at least one of them. And so this one would, if you are interested in Valiant comics at all, or what's coming up with the films that they're planning to make, this might be a good one to sit in on. And he seems like an interesting guy to sit and listen to talk about his writing and his career so far. So I thought that was a good one to point out.
And I'm going to do one last one. Stan Lee and friends over in 60E at 12:30 p.m. You can actually go and hear Stan Lee talk with Felicia Day and Adam Savage, and also his longtime manager, Max Anderson, basically just about his life and his work. And that should be awesome. Like, that's a really unique group of people.
Yeah, but let's talk about that for a second. I mean, do we think he's going to show up? Because, I mean, the sad news that his wife passed away yesterday.
Right.
And that's only 2 weeks until the con. Do we think he is going to show up still?
I personally think he will, but we'll find out.
Right. So, I mean, if hopefully they'll announce something soon if he isn't going to show up, but maybe they're waiting to see if he feels up to it in a week and then make a decision. But I think expect to keep an eye on that and see if it gets if it gets canceled or whatnot. But we will make sure that we announce it if it does. But that is something to keep an eye on if you're planning to go to the Stan Lee panel. Be aware that he may cancel.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. What questions did we have?
So yeah, now's the time if we didn't cover something to ask a question.
And real quick, like, I just kind of wanted to say, because we've been talking about this internally, like, yes, overall, this is probably the absolute weakest year for movies that there's been in I mean, in terms of quantity, it's one of the lowest. But, like, I'm more excited about this panel schedule than I have been in literally years.
Yes.
And I think most of us all feel the same.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's a little bit it sucks slightly that only like 3 movie studios appear to be showing up, but like there is no shortage of awesome stuff on this schedule. Like no shortage whatsoever.
Yes. Now since this is a schedule podcast, but let's talk about some things that we know are happening around the con, since we don't really have a lot of time because we only have one other podcast besides these schedule ones to go through. Offsites. We have some pretty cool offsites coming, and I think the biggest one was the one that got announced last night, and that's the Blade Runner offsite.
Yep.
And that one is no badge required. It looks like it's going to be incredible. It's basically you go in and you watch a VR experience to start, and then you get into it, and it's like walking into Blade Runner 2049. There will be cast members, crew members, whatever, dressed up as residents of the future, and it's basically looks like it's going to be awesome.
It
We don't
does.
know where it is yet, right? Yeah.
They just keep saying it's across from the convention center. No, they just keep
across from the convention center.
like that's literally all of the gas lamp.
So we don't know where Blade Runner is going to be, but it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And there's going to be whiskey samplings.
Yes. The WB offsite I will not be going to is the one for it. Thursday through Sunday over at Petco, you can go hop on the creepiest school bus in town.
Yay!
Yay! They'll have a virtual reality installation, basically with creepy clowns. Like, I'm good. Thanks.
Well, we joked about clowns wandering around downtown.
Yeah, and there may still be like street team Pennywise is like walking around holding those balloons. Like,
I kind of want it, and I kind of don't.
Same.
I think it would be awesome if they did that, but only at night.
Only at night. Oh, great.
Thanks for that, James. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
So we also had announced Carnival,
Which is moving.
And they're doing it totally different this year. There's not going to be any like on-site interviews, or you can't go watch anything. It's basically laser tag and tabletop gaming, right?
Yes. Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, I think laser tag's the big draw for that.
I know it's unfortunate because the draw was those panels at Petco. Besides all the awesome stuff they had going on, it was neat. You get a 15-minute block of, it was Warcraft I walked into one time. So.
Yeah. And last year I got to see like what would have been like 4 or 5 hours of Ballroom 20 type panels in about an hour and a half. And so that was really nice. I mean, you basically, and it wasn't super crowded. I mean, it got crowded when the cast showed up for a few of the shows, but it was really nice because it wasn't nearly as crowded as Ballroom 20.
I know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, since Carnival's moving, we don't know what's in Petco, do we?
No, so far we've heard like literally nothing.
Right.
I mean, the Petco Interactive Zone stuff is all out there, and we've heard several things.
Not the park itself.
Nothing in the concourse.
Besides at the MTV, which was also announced, but that's in the park.
Yes. And real quick, I wanted to clarify this because I've had like 50 questions about it. So MTV Fandom Fest is moving this year from Thursday to Friday. There is not going to be the Fandom Awards, but they will still have like music and rides and all that fun stuff. The Fandom Party on Thursday has nothing to do with MTV. It's a totally different company, actually, because that's not confusing at all. But yeah, those two things are unrelated. So just FYI.
They're both fandom fests. But
yeah, they're both fandom. They're just different fandoms.
But the same fandom. So we also had announced the Boom Studios Drink Up will be July 20th at 9 p.m. Returning to the Hilton Odyssey Lounge.
And
yes,
they want to buy you a drink.
1,000 of you.
1,000 of you.
Oh, but you have to go to the show floor to get those drinks.
Yes.
And then go to the hotel.
Yes.
So but that's really neat of Boom to do that.
Question on the chat from Amber is top parties you'd recommend. You have like a top 3 I think MTV's Fandom Fest on Friday is going to be one of the top ones because it's free.
Because that's really easy to get into because it's
I mean,
such a
it may-
large area.
Right, and it may require a little bit of a wait in line, but you will most likely get in.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like they usually have food trucks. They, like I said, they're gonna have like rides and things. It's a good time. Yeah, and yeah, Two Blog, Two Furious. Come to that Wednesday night preview night from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at McFadden's. Free. You don't need a badge. Just come hang out with us. So it'll be fun.
And our prize mules, and apparently McFadden's has a mule menu, so we didn't even know that when we picked the place, which is great.
And
So amazing.
I actually have our final mule joining our team. This is Rufus Barracorn, who is joining the Prize Mule team. And for those who don't know how Prize Mule works, basically just keep an eye on our Twitter. And during the con, we will be tweeting out where we will be dropping prizes. And then the first person who comes and finds us wins a prize. And we have a couple of loser prizes as well. So don't worry.
With some cool sponsors. So
yes, from tons of awesome people. Including Bait is added to our lineup, and Mondo is as well. So,
A couple of questions. Debbie Erawan asks, is Adult Swim on the Green coming back?
I believe, I don't know, but I believe that we will know something about them on Monday.
Okay. Oh. Is Comic-Con HQ coming back?
I don't know, but I feel personally as if it was, it probably would have been included on Comic-Con's offsite announcement, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think it should have been included as well, and it looks like it's probably not going to be there. And where do you pick up badges and bags and lanyards with your badge? And that's in sales. And a question from Twitter is...
we forgot.
Go ahead.
We forgot one offsite. The Nerd HQ Sci-Fi dance parties are happening. Yes. On Thursday. I know. Somebody mentioned Nerd HQ in the chat, and I was like, oh, duh. Okay, so they announced earlier this week that the basically Sci-Fi is going to be helping the Nerd Machine host their normal Nerd HQ dance parties over at the New Children's Museum. They'll be Thursday and Saturday nights, just like normal. Start time is either 9 or 9:30. They weren't totally sure when I asked. But if you've never been, they're a whole lot of fun. You never know who's going to stop by. They're free to get into. Sometimes there's a little bit of a wait, but you just go and you dance. So,
the Game of Thrones offsite is also returning.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Same spot. And there's a Westworld one which we don't know quite about yet.
Correct.
Question on Twitter again relating to Hall H and barcode wristbands, badges, and all that. If you want to get in a wristband for Friday and you only have a Friday badge, you can line up on Thursday if you want. Lining up doesn't require a badge until you get your wristband.
You just need a barcode email.
Yeah, and if you don't have the badge itself, yes, you just need the barcode. So if you want to line up for Friday on Thursday, go right ahead. Just make sure you have your badge and or barcode with you.
And speaking of barcodes, Mike Lalonde asked for badge pickup. Are the lines crazy from open till closed? They used to be, but because they now mail out pretty much all the badges, like the lines are non-existent. So you're more than likely looking at being in and out in 10 minutes, if even that. And I also wanted to mention, we posted this week the official, these are the times you can pick up your badges. They always open earlier than that. So if you're like, I want to go to preview night, but they say that badge pickup doesn't start until 3 p.m. and I don't have my badge, show up at 1 o'clock. Odds are very, very high that it'll be open. And one more quick thing. Somebody asked about Saturday Conan tickets. We still know absolutely nothing.
No emails have gone out.
No.
That we have heard as of yet.
No. And we heard from hundreds of people from all the other dates, so I refuse to believe that people got Saturday and we just don't know.
Yeah. One thing about the Hall H thing also, because it was in part of the question, is you have to be there to get a wristband. You can't give someone your badge or barcode and have them pick you up a wristband. It's one wristband per person, and you have to have a badge or a barcode. Someone can't pick one up for you.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention one more offsite that was announced today, which is the CBLDF, Comic Book Legal Defense Fund's annual party at Thursday, July 20th at 8 p.m. at the Westgate Hotel, which is always a lot of fun. It's free, but I think they do ask for a donation to support the fund, obviously. And then they're also having an art auction on Saturday, which I believe is no badge required. So they do a lot of good stuff, and those are always fun to go to.
Yes, and we are also still waiting on tickets to be released for Sci-Fi's Live from Comic-Con show, which will be hosted by Zach Levi. And we don't know any of the guests yet for that. So we may only have 12 days, but we have a whole lot more stuff to cover.
So as of right now, that is the only, if Comic-Con HQ isn't returning, that's the only outside panels this year, isn't it? Will be Sci-Fi Live.
As far as I am aware, with Nerdist not doing it, with Nerd HQ not doing it, like, yeah, it's pretty much.
And so far, no Comic-Con HQ, it looks like.
No ConX returning this year.
Right.
No ConX. I mean, you can kind of lump Conan into that group, but I don't really.
Not really. So basically, we went from like 4 or 5 places to see people to 2.
Or 1.5 even. Like, yeah, it's a little bit sad.
I was counting Comic-Con. You can see them in there.
Oh, yeah, you can. So we'll see what happens. Like, this has been a really weird year, I think.
Yes.
And not just like on the offsite front, like on all fronts. But again, the programming schedule looks amazing. So
yeah, I mean, less movies, changing offsites, lots of TV, plenty of the usual panels we see at Comic-Con every year. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of panels. So it is looking a little weird. And also, hey, what's up with exclusives? What's going on with those?
Oh God, like no one is announced. I mean, people have announced stuff, but there's so much still to be announced. I know Mattel still has stuff to announce. I know Hasbro still has stuff to announce. Lego hasn't announced their minifigs, assuming they're even doing them. So that's what I have to say about it.
Expect a lot of news in the next 10 days.
Because not only that, but then we've got signings, kids. Like we've still got like the Fox and WB signings. And I know we kind of announced WB, but we don't have times yet, and they always announce the times. Funko did, though, today announce how they're doing their booth procedure, and it's pretty much the exact same as last year, with the one exception of, I think last year Ticket Draw was physically in sales, and now it's out on the pavilion. I think that's about the only change. Yeah. There's a ton of stuff.
Pavilion.
Where's what?
Where's the pavilion versus sales?
The pavilion is basically that terrace right outside the doors for sales. It's where the Lego drawings usually are. So it's basically up in sales, but then you walk out the door and they've got that terrace and they call it the pavilion. Yeah. So.
Okay, so we will continue. I mean, we'll answer questions on Twitter, obviously, as we have them. A lot of information you can get by just re-listening or rewatching the podcast. We'll have the podcast up for downloading tomorrow, or you can just rewatch it anytime on YouTube. And basically, we're going to do this exact same thing for the Saturday and Sunday schedule on Sunday at 3 p.m. So join us for that. And let's go over some of the things to wrap this up. We are partnering with Uber and Uber Eats again this year to bring you discounts around the convention center. Use code SDCCUblog on Uber for up to $20 off your first ride, or Eats Ublog 17 for $10 off your first order at Uber Eats.
And you can be our attendee of the week. Visit the Ublog for more information. They have been a lot of fun so far, so it's a great post that's been added this year.
We are giving away our final pair of tickets for the Symphony's Music of John Williams concert this upcoming week. I believe the contest ends on Sunday night, and we'll notify the last winner on Monday. And then I also wanted to mention, again, you can come to our party / meetup / whatever you want to call it on Wednesday, July 19th at McFadden's in the Gaslamp from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. It's free to attend. You don't need a badge. It's just going to be a really fun, informal hangout where you get to hang out with us and our readers. I really hope you guys will stop by. It'll be different from our other parties, but it'll still be a lot of fun. And then that pretty much wraps it up, right? You can sign up for our newsletter. The link is in the show notes. We're actually sending them out. Wow. Woo. As always, our Under the Tents column is back, and we're doing 1 to 2 of those a day at the moment. And yeah.
So again, Saturday and Sunday covering Sunday at 3 p.m. for the live recording. And then we will have one more SDConCast Wednesday at the normal time of 6:30. And we have some guests coming on. And it's going to be an awesome final podcast before we head to Comic-Con. And so in closing, thank you all for joining us. We'll hope you join us for the final 2 podcasts before San Diego Comic-Con 2017. Kim, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am Outside Comic-Con on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and OutsideComicCon.com with a sortable events list that I promise I will catch up to someday. There's just so many. Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon, though I'm barely using it at the moment because it's con season. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere online at Dan Regal, and you can check out geekshotphoto.com for photography from my wife and I.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up in the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We're also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog. Or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening. Everybody, go. Oh, Olaf, where'd you go?